Now time to look at what the papers are saying on their front pages. We start with our sister publication this day, a newspaper on its front page. FG to deploy launch first set of CNG vehicles in May to mark Tinubu's 1 year. Considers buses, tricycles and target 1 million automobiles by 2027. Edu. Nigeria secures $2.25 billion World Bank credit. And on the top, First Bank Holdings announces Olusegun Alebiosu, acting chief executive of FBN. After initial commotion, Ayedatiwa wins Ondo APC governorship primary election.
Well, the Vanguard says top manufacturers list woes, incur 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. Let's look at the writer to that story very quickly. Plan for the price increase and many more there. But above the masthead this morning, the Ondo Guba protest is 4 APC aspirants call for primary cancellation. This is looking very similar to what we had in Edo State just a couple of weeks ago, but I wonder what Benga Ashiru has to say about that story. Okwama Ewu identifies 11 persons killed by military, 413 houses destroyed. And this and many more stories make it to the front page of the Vanguard this morning.
The Punch newspaper. MFLA social programs, banks withheld 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, 6 others keep unused funds. SMEs seek fresh loans. NFIU, Nerisal to trade anchor borrowers, loan defaulters to tackle anchor borrowers, loan defaulters. CBN rules out interventions. On the topmost, FG probes $500 million local content loans projects. Equity market suffers 1.6 trillion naira loss in 1 week. Army vows revenge after terrorists killed 6 soldiers. And of course, there you have Ondopol Aida Akinteriwa. Others are protesting as Ayedatiwa wins APC ticket. FG rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles, May 18. Motorist residents stranded as flood overruns Lagos Ogun roads.
The Daily Trust says 2,583 Nigerians killed, 2,164 abducted in 3 months. That's according to a report published by the Daily Trust this morning. We have reduced casualty figures, says the NSA, says there are over 300 bandit warlords in North. Fleeing villagers from Zamfara government house. And you have a breakdown there of the regions and the incident of crime depicted on the front page there. Another story that should catch your attention on the Daily Trust this morning is this. Despite increased derivation fund, oil producing states owe 1.6 trillion naira. You ask why? Details in Daily Trust.
The Sponge Sports Extra, goals as Devils survive Sky Blues scared to reach final. 3 down, equalize 3 and then penalties. Bellingham delivers Clasico victory. Eagles Siasia decries disparity between local and foreign coaches. Reds reignite title hopes, beat, they won 3-1. Little Magician, Ateta hails Trossard. And there on the front page, blue-haired damsel, high-flying Ajibade scores, assists in Atletico, big win. Desa's back sprays, Ejuke, Dele Bashiru also on target. And Silva Coy on Chelsea exit. His contract, I learned, is expiring by June.
And here is the front page of the Daily Express this Monday morning. So the international is saying very quickly, the Daily Express. Stop meddling. PM warns Labour it must pass Rwanda bill.
All right, Tories face new pay clash with public sector workers before autumn election.
And the Guardian UK, PM also faces calls to put Afghan concession in Rwanda bill.
Did you do the Guardian International?
Yes.
All right, let me just do one more, then we... right, let's look at Sun. Russia hacks Brit haul jets, thousands of flights targeted. You see Beckham there carrying his wife out of a function, because she had an injury on her leg.
Oh, that's an all moment. Well, let's bring in Benga Asher, Arise News senior correspondent, to help us analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning. Great to see you, Benga, as always.
Good morning, Adesua. Good morning, Indy.
Good morning to you.
It's going to be a busy day in Nigeria for top government officials, including President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. As you see depicted on the front page of this day this morning, there's going to be a security summit, and there's going to be a counter-terrorism summit as well. But the big story on the front page of this day is what I would like us to start with this morning. Federal government to deploy and launch first set of CNG vehicles in May to mark Tinubu's 1 year in office. Long awaited, Bengasho.
Yeah, long awaited, you can say. That's quite apt. And this has to do with accountability. Because when you look at the relationship between Nigerians and the government, you can say the trust bridge has been completely broken. So when there's a huge trust gap, when it's so yawning, and the government is still standing on its word that, okay, it's going to launch the first set of CNG buses, that I think should be a welcome development, and it's an endorsement of some level of accountability in governance, and that is what Nigerians ask for. Nigerians are not asking for so many. They are not asking for luxury buses. They are asking for things that could give life a meaning, that could make them go home with their pay and live at least a minimal, decent life. So the launch of the CNG buses is a welcome development for every Nigerian. We would love to see.
But this was even the government promise to the labor unions. You recall, at the removal of fuel subsidy by President Bola Tinubu, this was part of the negotiations reached between government and labor, and it's taken this long to get here.
Yeah, I was about
this had been done first.
I was about to come in there that the launch of the CNG buses are taking a whole year. One would have expected that for such an emergency crisis, for the pains Nigerians had to endure, that shouldn't have taken this long. But be that as it may, the CNG buses are coming. They said, though it may tarry, but it will surely come. So I think the patience of Nigerians and also the commitment of government is paying off, is gradually paying off. I think this kind of portends better days to come for Nigerians, if you ask me.
The Punch, one would wonder MFL associate programs, why banks will withhold 530 billion CBN funds, and Cardoso is saying there may be a refund, and some banks, I mentioned Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, and 6 others are mentioned here.
So, okay.
That's one story there. And then if this is true, outrage over discrimination against Nigerians in Abuja in a Chinese market. Yes, Benga.
Okay, let's start from the plans to withdraw the intervention fund, about 530-something billion intervention fund. I think that is the long narrative we've all been asking. That's the question everyone has been asking about the role of the CBN. When Cardoso came in, one of his promises is to return the CBN back to the core CBN Act. The CBN is mainly to regulate monetary policy and not the fiscal economy. But we have seen that things that does not really concern the CBN, like the Anchors Borrowers Program, the Agri-Allied Program, so many social intervention programs, the CBN has by itself been spearheading this intervention program. I think it's a huge distraction. Even last week, when we spoke with an economist who also happens to be the former deputy governor of Anambra State, he said that it is time for the CBN to concentrate specifically on its mandate and leave the other macroeconomic issues to the finance ministry and other arms of government. The CBN should return specifically to focus on monetary policy. So I think this is a welcome development.
Indeed, we recall that at that time, the CBN had to step up because those in charge had let down the ball, and so somebody had to step in, and then you saw the CBN playing the role of finance, Greek economy.
Definitely.
Was doing
and
everything.
to the tune of over 9 trillion naira. That's all. When an expert did the summary of all this intervention program, and you could see the colossal failure in many of these intervention programs because the CBN does not have the structure to manage and to pivot these intervention programs because it's not under their mandate.
Well, some will argue with you there, Bengashi. But let's turn to another story that recalls on the front pages this morning. Is that from Ondo State? Ayedatiwa has now emerged as the candidate for the party, but again, there are discordant tunes, there are dissent voices. Is this similar to what happened in Edo State, and why is the APC getting it so wrong?
Experts, political analysts have consistently maintained that for us to get our democracy right, we must get our internal democracy right. And there's no rocket science about it. It's a simple rule. Charity begins at home. So when I saw the margin of 16 contestants across APC in Ondo State coming together in the April 20 election, I saw the margin with Ayedatiwa winning with close to 50,000 votes, which is almost 50% of the entire, close to 50% of the entire vote. It was interesting to me initially to see Muyiwa Akinfolari come next with 15,343 votes. But when I saw the allegations, again, it leaves a low watermark on our internal democracy, which it's very important for us to get right. I think the Electoral Act now needs to be amended because we have tried it. It's like a trial and error to make party affair become to leave it as a family affair. I think there's a lot of regulations that INEC needs to be more involved to monitor the conduct because I think the freedom leaves a lot of playing field for the key actors within the party to manipulate it as they wish. If you look at the Edo election too, the one party was talking about having the legitimate delegates, and another party was talking about having the legitimate venue. So how do you marry the two together between the legitimate delegates and the legitimate venue? And we also know the influence of the national body in pronouncing the winners of this election, because that is what the constitution stipulates, that the national body, a representative of the national body, which in this point in time is the Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo, to pronounce the winner. So I think that many of these things need to be regulated.
All right, let's look at if we have time, look at maybe a foreign story.
Just before we go to the foreign story, there's a story we kind of missed on this day front page this morning. It's a big story. It's just above the masthead there, Gbenga. It's about the First Bank Holdings, and we know that it's been in the news for leadership change, a change in baton. Well, the First Bank Holdings has now announced Olusegun Alebiosu as acting chief executive of the bank. A change in baton, Benga. What are we to expect from this?
Well, at a point where First Bank is among the bank to live up to their status in terms of banking recapitalization, so you could see that he has his work clearly cut out for him. Raising 500 billion naira is not going to be a tea party. Though we have the options of going for the public offers, the rights issue, and also merger and acquisition. But nevertheless, we also understand that many of them are rushing to the foreign rushing for foreign capital now to beef up their cash base. So when you look at all these things, it's a huge task in front of Alebiosu. But be that as it may, Alebiosu, if you read his resume, he has an enviable pedigree as a consummate banker. So we wish him the best of luck.
Indeed.
All right, there's a story from a South African newspaper that, let's have it, the calm before the storm. Well, when the calm before the storm, I can hardly see the small print. What that's about. Wish one could get the small print clearly, because I don't think I have that paper here. Okay, pause. What's ANC's backup? I mean, the talk about ANC seem to be losing its hold in the South African elections. Wenga, what do you make of that?
Well, this is a party that its internal affairs has been fraught with so much irregularities, especially corruption, right from the time of Jacob Zuma to the time of Thabo Mbeki, from the time of Thabo Mbeki to the time of Jacob Zuma, and to the time of Cyril Ramaphosa. The party affairs, even its governance, has been fraught with high-level corruption. So now, when you look at the structure of the party, about the biggest party in Africa, one will wonder that one is afraid that this party could be heading for an implosion. I wish that the key gatekeepers would come together and see how they can preserve the reputation of this party from collapsing.
I know, you know that Zuma has gone to another party, and the court declared him fit to run for election. So he might be, how do you put it, cutting the votes that will probably go to ANC.
Yeah, Zuma is an influential figure in South African politics, no doubt. He has his own structure that he moves with. Even internationally, the Zuma has built a cult followership in politics. So when you look at this, it certainly calls for concern in the internal affairs of the ANC.
Perhaps we see, what we have seen in some parts of the continent, including Nigeria, where the ruling party lost to the major opposition. Benga, is that what we're likely to see in South Africa with the ANC losing grip of power? Is that likely to happen anytime soon?
Well, unfortunately, I do not see that possibility.
But very quickly before we go,
nevertheless, you can't rule out any possibility. Everything is possible in politics.
Indeed. Before we go, just run through some of the top South African dailies this morning. As you know, your favorite TV station, Arise News Channel, is now live in South Africa and other African countries at this time. The Business Day this Monday morning says SA arms dealers see gap in DRC, talking about filling a vacuum. The IMF feels bullish on growth in Africa. It's another story you find on the front page of the Business Day this Monday morning. And the Times has that big story, the calm before the storm. And of course, the Gazette pose what's ANC's backup. Mengashiri, we have to thank you so much for the review of the papers this morning.
I wish to say congratulations to the management of Arise News for that bold move, establishing and daring where people fear to tread. I say congratulations to the captain of the team, Prince Nduka Obaegbena. Congratulations on this bold move.
Indeed, well said. Right, and that's the paper review. Remember, you can share your views from wherever in the world you are. Just send us a message on X, formerly known as Twitter, @AriseTV.